During the battle with Audrey and Mal, Mal is in dragon form while Audrey is still in her evil form. Audrey points the top of the scepter towards Mal's wing. "Just give it up, Mal. You're not cut out to be the protector of Auradon, let alone be queen," Audrey yelled towards the purple dragon who was staring at her, clearly in pain. "You know it's true, so why not just move on and go back to where you really belong, with the trash at your pathetic domain on the Isle?" Audrey smirked, knowing that she's right. Mal shook her head quickly and shot fire straight at the eye of the scepter. The ember glowed bright blue in the dragon's left fist. The scepter and Mal's fire with the power of the ember crashed and clashed against each other. Mal roared while Audrey screamed with anger and determination. Mal bellowed as a large spark from the fire and the scepter's power hit on her legs and arms, front legs. Sparks soon started to continually land on Mal, her head, her wings, limbs, and belly. Mal gave an ear-shattering roar and hot a pillar of purple fire straight at the scepter. Audrey screamed and fell back onto the ground. She slammed her head on the stones and went out like a light. Mal, still in dragon form, looked over at Uma and nodded, signaling that Audrey was down. "Mal!" Celia cried out. Mal turned back to face her. "Thank you," Celia sighed, grateful that Mal saved her life. Mal didn't move a muscle or make a sound. "Mal?" Mal's green eyes rolled to the back of her head, and she started to fall rapidly. A quarter of the way down, purple smoke started to circle her, and she turned back into her human form, beginning to fall even faster than before. "Mal!" Uma cried out. A second later, Ben, Jay, Evie, Dude, and Carlos came out from the woods. Jay turned to see Uma and Harry run off, or so it appeared. He saw a form falling from the sky. His eyes dawned in realization. "Mal," he whispered. He ran off with Carlos, Evie, Dude, and Ben not far behind. "Mal!" Ben screamed, clearly terrified. She was 200 feet from the ground. Uma and Harry not even close to where she could land. 150 feet. Ben putting all of his beastly energy into running to save the love of his life. 100 feet. Ben passed Uma and Harry, who was panting heavily. 50 feet. "Mal!" he cried. She slammed into the ground with a force so strong it knocked the others right off their feet. Purple smoke in many different shades started to circle around Mal and fall outwards, away from her. Ben shook his head, trying to clear the fogginess out of his brain. He saw Mal's crooked form lying 30 feet away from him, completely still, with bruises, scrapes, cuts, burns, torn skin, and blood all over her. "Mal!" he cried out, his voice suddenly breaking into heart-shattering sobs. He picked her up and held her, careful of her injuries. "No!" Evie suddenly was at his shoulder. "Mal, no!" She started to cry. Mal, come on. This isn't funny." Carlos started to shake her. Evie grabbed and held him while sobbing onto his shoulder. "Mal, can you hear us?" Uma asked, with Harry right behind her. Jay put a hand on Ben's shaking shoulder. "Ben, let me see her." "No!" Ben sobbed, with tears streaking nonstop down his face. "Ben, please." Jay's voice cracks. Reluctantly, Ben laid Mal in Jay's arms. Jay quickly put his ear to her mouth, watching her chest. He slowly started to smile. He then moved his head further down and gently placed it right above her heart. He started to show a wide, happy grin. Uma looked over at him and he started to full-out grin.
We're halfway through. Time to take a little break. And while we're at it, I have a surprise for you. The first ever Villainous merch line is available for sale. That's right. Now you can go to villaination.com and buy the brand new t-shirts and hoodies released to celebrate the milestone of 30,000 subscribers. Please let me know in the comments if you like them. Now, back to the story.
"Jay, what is it? Why are you smiling?" Uma asked, clearly confused by his lack of devastation for his longest-known friend. He started to chuckle, then full-out laugh incredulously. "Jay, what's the matter with you, man?" Carlos pushed him. "Why are you laughing? Mal's—" He choked. Mal's gone." "Guys, Mal's still breathing," Jay finally exclaimed. Everyone lifted their heads at that. "What?" Ben questioned. He wasn't sure he heard Jay right. After all, who can survive a 100-story drop? "Jay, you better not be joking about this. It would be your sickest and fatal one," Evie threatened, tears still falling off her cheeks, which were coated in mascara. "Guys, I'm not joking," Jay huffed, irritated, not happy about his friends. He didn't believe that they didn't believe him. Why would he joke about this? "Jay, are you sure?" Ben stuttered. Jay grinned. "Course I'm sure. Come here, let me show ya." He pulled Ben over by his arms towards himself and Mal. "Listen." He pointed towards Mal's mouth. Ben glanced at Jay skeptically before complying and leaning down towards Mal's mouth to hear if Jay was telling the truth. "Ben?" Mal breathed so softly you wouldn't hear it unless your ear was right up against her mouth, which Ben's was. Ben choked out a laugh. "She's alive! I can't believe it! She's alive!" he cheered. Everyone's faces brightened and started to cheer happily. They all hugged each other fiercely, still not believing that Mal was okay. All of a sudden, Mal let out an agony-filled scream. "Dad!" Everyone quickly looked at each other, clearly worried. Mal suddenly started to hyperventilate, really hard and really fast. Mal, it's okay. Calm down." Ben attempted to reassure her. She didn't stop. "Guys, we've got to take her inside," Carlos said, desperate to help one of his best friends relax. Ben scooped her up and started running to the nearest castle entrance. The others quickly followed him, preparing for something to do that might help Mal. Ben burst inside the castle, where there were bustling servants and confusion about what happened with the sleeping gas and stone people made by Audrey. "Help! Mal's in trouble! She needs help!" he yelled, hoping that there was someone nearby who would know what to do. Immediately, a few people started to push through the crowd towards Ben with some medical tools. They placed her on a gurney and started to take her to the medical room. "Quick, give her a sedative, the one for relaxing an unnerved patient," barked a doctor to a younger man who was walking next to him. The younger man knew this was going to happen, so he was already in a position where he was able to follow the orders he was given. He ran off as the doctor barked at a nurse next to Mal's bruised and scraped head. Well, Ben assumed the middle-aged man was the doctor because he knew what he was doing. "Nurse Allay, give her an oxygen mask and try to calm her breathing." The group soon arrived at the med room, where Mal was swiftly wheeled in. Ben, Evie, Jay, and Carlos were barely behind, not giving a glance to the guards who were unsure about allowing the four to pass. The barky doctor held a small cup of purple-red liquid to Mal's mouth, tipping the edge between the small parting of her lips.